Oh, welcome to the Gamblin Gauchos. I'm Rob Bro. He's Kyle Jacobson. He's Money Mainville. We've got a lot to talk about today. And I've been saying that kind of facetiously, but today it does feel like we have quite a bit to talk about. No tech basketball per se, no tech baseball per se. There is a little bit of softball to touch on, some track by osmosis. But there is a ton of football to talk about. And I guess how I say per se on the rest of it, Adidas is happening tomorrow, so we'll talk about some uniforms as well. But let's get into, I guess, maybe the biggest story of the week. Kirby Hocutt and Donati from TCU kind of getting in some ribs, some shots on Twitter. Kyle, you want to walk us through that? Can we call it a beef?
Yeah, as best I can. So you asked me kind of where this started. I know you know where it started. It didn't start this week on Twitter. It started in the summer of 22 when now, by the way, I'll throw this in there. Today is Texas and OU's last day in the Big 12. So that's about to be never again. But back in summer 22, Texas and Oklahoma still were members of this conference. And yet TCU Athletic Director Jeremiah Donati announced that one school would not be sold single game tickets to TCU that year, Texas Tech, of course. Now, we've always had discourse on like who's Super Bowl, and fans like to cope with that. You lose a game, you say congrats on your Super Bowl, all that. Fan banter is one thing, and like fans feel differently about different rivals and others. Like I'm sure some people hate TCU more than Baylor or A&M more than Texas or vice versa, whatever. When your athletic director is out there doing this, to me, it kind of, I always talk about this concept of institutional adoption. When the school leadership is treating Texas Tech like it's your Super Bowl, then maybe there's some truth to it. So, anyway, there was some, I would say, misreporting, I guess, that TCU became the first school to announce that they were going to do the maximum level of athlete revenue sharing. And Kirby quote tweeted some of that reporting and said, they're not the first to do it. We announced this several months ago. And then kind of weaved in, I thought this was brilliant. This is kind of unlike Kirby, unlike his standard operating procedure, but I kind of like to see some of this spice from Kirby. It says single game tickets for all 7 home games. And he threw in all 7 home games because I think he's proud that we have 7 now. That was a goal of theirs. Are going at record pace. Hey, Jeremiah Donati, we can fill your stadium too if you'll let us. Congrats on following us on revenue sharing at the highest level too. Cactus emoji. And so Jeremiah Donati responds, they can watch the game at a bar in Fort Worth. The stadium will be purple. Now, we know damn well the stadium will not be purple. If they don't let Tech fans in, it'll be a shade of silver and gray from the concrete and the bleachers that are in there. There'll be a little bit of purple, like sprinkled throughout, but not if it's too hot, not if it's too cold, not if TCU isn't very good, and also not if TCU is undefeated. I thought that was funny. We tweeted one picture of a stadium. People were like, well, that was 2013. It was hot outside. Okay, well, what about this one? Oh, that's 2016. It was cold outside. It was Thanksgiving. Okay, what about this picture from 2022 when y'all were 11-0 and playing for a spot in the national title game? Oh, it was 2 days after Thanksgiving. Just say you don't show up for games. Just say that you can't fill a 50,000 seat stadium in a metro area of 7 million people. You have the on-field success over us. You shouldn't really have to even compete with us on this point. If I was TCU, I'd be like, hey, we have 1,011 win seasons. Congrats on filling your stadium. Like, we'll keep winning New Year's 6 games. But it, like, really draws them off sides. Like, we didn't say anything about their AD. We just said the stadium, and it's a picture of an empty stadium. And what was funny to me was, like, their fans will go back and forth with you on it forever while claiming that you're insecure about this topic.
Yeah.
And stuff. I'm like, you've replied to me 5 times now before I
You're so
re-engaged
mad.
you.
You're so mad at us right now.
And they're like, well, look at your stadium. It's not full. It's like, okay, fair.
It's true.
But there was more people there than there was at your, I forget which game it was, or maybe it was just from this past season. So they knocked out a corner of our stadium, and still we had more people in the remaining seats than TCU has ever had in their entire history at Amon G. Carter Stadium. Their record attendance was last year against Colorado, 53,000. You bottomed out at 54,000 last year in like a very mundane 6-6 season.
Your school's bigger.
Okay, fair point. But now, like, let's talk about, if we want to talk about the individual characteristics of each school, our student body is bigger. We allot a lot of tickets for, that sounded weird, many tickets for the student section. We're also the most remotely located school in the Power Five. We are further from a population center that is like greater than our own and in terms of like where our alumni are located than anybody else. Like if you don't live in the Panhandle, Lubbock, or the Permian Basin or like Abilene, you probably have to fly if you're coming from much further than like Dallas, Austin, maybe El Paso. Some people I think drive from Houston every weekend, and more power to them. Like you have to stay overnight, all that stuff. It's hard to get in and out in the same day unless the kickoff time is perfect and you live close enough. TCU, again, is in the fourth largest metro area in the United States of America. There's 7 million people. I guess more than that. There's 7 million people in DFW. There's probably more than that could get to their stadium within an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And an hour and a half is basically like Amarillo to Lubbock or Lubbock to Midland if you're speeding. So it's not apples to apples. Like both schools have pros and cons in terms of what they should theoretically be able to do attendance-wise. I don't think it's too much to ask for an 11-0 team fighting to make it to a national championship game to sell out their 50,000-seat stadium. TCU can't do that. You can say whatever you want about Texas Tech's on-field success, about their attendance. I promise you, if we're ever 11-0 and then playing at the Jones in Game 12, there's not going to be entire sections that are empty. I don't care if it's 20 below. I don't care if it's 100 degrees. And some of them just admit it. They're like, well, my kids play soccer now. Like, okay, then like you're not a diehard fan. We have fans that will drive from Houston, 8 hours to Lubbock and then drive back for a game against, whoever. And you won't make the hike from Keller to Fort Worth to watch your team play when they're having a historic season. We're not the same. That's okay. Like you don't care about football as much as we do. You're probably better at it than we are. Certainly over the last 25 years. We still own the head-to-head, by the way. But just say that. Just say your life doesn't revolve around college football on Saturdays. We're not the same. It's not for everybody. Baylor has the same issues. And my final point on this is they're starting to share this graphic now, which is understandable because it comes from the NCAA's website. You go, the NCAA, this is a good source for this kind of thing. That shows them with like 103% attendance last year. It's not real. And I know it's not real because you can pull up any of these games on YouTube. Colorado, yes, it was packed. I fully believe they were over capacity for that game. And then you pull up any other game, it's not near capacity. Like you did not average 103% attendance. Furthermore, I'm not just singling out TCU, by the way. I'm going to go through a few other schools on this list. It says Baylor was at 97%. I promise you they weren't. I was inside that stadium last year. Baylor went 0-8 inside that stadium last year. 0-7 against FBS competition. They beat Long Island. I promise you, pull up the games on YouTube. The stadium is never 97% full. Never. Maybe for the Utah game. And if they hosted TCU, maybe. They did not average 97%. Lastly, Texas Tech, as I mentioned, knocked out a corner of its stadium last year. Took out about 6,000 seats, making our max capacity 54,000 instead of 60,000. The NCAA was not aware of that when factoring in their percentage, so it shows Tech at 90%. Now, what is 10% of the aforementioned 60,000, the old capacity? It's 6,000.
Yes.
So they saw that we averaged 54,000, divided it over 60,000, 90%. No, it was 54,000 over 54,000, 100%. Was every single game a sellout? No, these numbers are junk. We were not 90%. Baylor was not 97, and TCU was not 103. We for sure had higher attendance rates, and our stadium is bigger and more remote than both of them did last year. I'm not ever going to convince TCU fans of that, and that graphic is going to go far more viral than the overview I just gave. but open your eyes. Like, obviously, the attendance is not over capacity at TCU last year. It's just not.
We went to a game, Kyle, en route to TCU's national championship appearance. And the seating woes are so prevalent that we get there, and the guy that we're with, the TCU fan, said, "All right, we're going to go to the 400s or wherever on the other side of the stadium." And he's like, "No, no, no. These are all open. Just sit here." It's like, "What?" It's like, "No, no, just nobody shows up. So just sit anywhere you want and no one ever complains."
I sat in 3 different seats that day,
Yeah,
and I think at the time TCU was like 7-0, 8-0,
yeah.
top 10 in the country. I think they were ranked 8th, and they couldn't put butts in seats. And okay, they use weather as an excuse. It's too hot. It's too cold. It was a beautiful day. Like,
It
you
was
could not have asked for better weather.
it was beautiful.
But hey, 50,000 seats. I'm getting a comment in the chat. It's actually 8 million people in DFW, not 7 million. Couldn't get 50,000 of them. When we got 54,000. Actually, you know what? We got more than that. This is how much more loyal and dedicated our fans are. We started last season 0-2 with a really bad loss to Wyoming and then a gut punch against Oregon when you had the chance to bounce back. You know that grass section in the north end zone that overflows whenever we play Texas or OU? When we played Tarleton State, an FCS school, at 0-2, there were people standing in that grass. And TCU fans cannot be bothered to go watch their 11-0 team play for a spot in the playoff.
Yeah.
Also, last thing on this. Can y'all help me understand, maybe I don't know, what a burner account is? Because I feel like there's one very core aspect of the definition of a burner account, and I want to make sure that I have this right, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts on it first.
Money, what do you think? How would you describe a burner?
Usually they're anonymous. That's kind of the most important thing, so you can get away with whatever you want.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. Burner accounts are anonymous.
Yeah.
Or at least intended to be.
Sure.
We are streaming right now our faces and our names to, by the time this stream ends, about 1,000 people. Do we qualify as a burner account on social media platforms?
No.
Have y'all gotten your cut of the $1,000 check we make from Twitter every month for engagement baiting?
No.
Me neither. So, and that's a rich criticism too, coming from a fan base that has 10 times more accounts that are burners than people actually know. Like, I have met TCU fans, and some of them do put their name and face out there, but 90% of them don't. So I thought that was funny. It was like, congrats on the engagement baiting. I was like, dude, I tweeted one picture of your stadium in response to your athletic director trying to clown us on this topic. Your fans' rage replied. We obviously touched a nerve. But based on Twitter's engagement stuff, we'll probably make, 12 cents off of that post. I promise you nothing we do on Twitter is to make money from replies. Otherwise, I'd just be tweeting the word MetaMask, Ethereum, lost my wallet, 100 times a day.
Or you'd talk about LaDainian Tomlinson more.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's our biggest tweet of all time.
It was also funny. This is peak off-season. I don't even know why we're talking about this. But apparently one of the pictures that I tweeted was from 2013, which doesn't count. Now, why? I don't know. I don't know where the cutoff is, because there's also pictures from 16, 17, 19, 22. But then somebody came back with the 2014 game where they scored 80 points. Okay, so somewhere between 2013 and 2014 is the cutoff of when you're allowed to talk smack.
I guess because they went 4-8 that year. Is that why?
I don't know. Yeah, that's your second year in the Big 12. You would think that there would be some fan interest, but apparently the month of September is off limits, and then by November it's too cold. I truly don't know.
Yeah. Killed SMU that year. All right.
And again, I they have the ultimate checkmate over us. We're all about 30 years old. I assume most of the people we're interacting with on Twitter are. You've enjoyed much more football success than Tech has in our lifetime. How are you bothered by this? If we were if we were back in the same conference as like Nebraska, and we had like 4 New Year's Six wins since Nebraska's last one, and their fans were like 93,000 strong every game, even though we've sucked for a decade straight, I'd be like, okay, like good for you. I just can't believe how much it bothers them. And they're like, you do this every offseason. Like, no, your athletic director has brought it up twice now in 2 different off seasons. If y'all would just open up single game tickets, nobody would talk about this.
Zero
This
people.
is y'all's fault.
Going back to the paying players the maximum amount, it is now going to be said, because ESPN and other people, John Kurtz now has picked it up, that TCU is on the forefront of saying that they're going to pay the maximum amount whenever revenue sharing comes out. Texas Tech already committed to that 3 months ago, as reported by the AJ, but apparently it wasn't reported salaciously enough. But Money, when you think of paying the max or whatever it is, committing to the revenue sharing, do you think that's going to be a rare thing, or do you think everyone's going to do it once that time comes? At least the top end of the power conferences.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I think there's going to be a lot of different directions that you can go, and how much you want to lean on collectives or outside NIL deals. But I think there will definitely be some like Tech who kind of get in early and double down. I think there will also be, a handful of schools that kind of sit on the sidelines and wait to see how things play out over the next couple of years, especially, a team with, not as much revenue or who's struggling a little bit financially in their athletic department. And so I think it'll be interesting to see which schools kind of wait things out and see how this develops and if there are other avenues that are feasible to take. But I definitely think there's going to be a lot of parity, but also at the same time, you have to keep up. If everyone's paying max and you're just getting gutted, I think it's going to kind of shift that a little bit. But yeah, I think we're going to see kind of one approach that's very aggressive, one approach that kind of sits and tries to wait things out.
Texas Tech was also on the forefront of collectives with the Matador Club. Is it a surprise to see you, to see Texas Tech say that they're going to be on the forefront, Kyle, or is this just kind of expected now?
Hard to say because it is so new, but my general thought is if you can pay the max, then you will, because enough will do it that it'll be kind of a detriment or a drawback if like teams always negative recruit. And so like it'll be known, I guess, in recruiting circles and stuff if a school isn't paying their athletes. So I kind of think if you can at all afford it, you probably will to a certain point. I don't know if – well, I don't know. I guess I have conflicting thoughts on this. If you're in the Power 2, you have the money to do it. But also if you're Northwestern or Vanderbilt and you're not going to compete anyway, why waste the money? That sounds kind of rude, but like if you're at Northwestern and you're like, hey, we're making the max payouts just like Ohio State, like who cares?
Certainly. I wonder if there's going to be how it works out. Is it going to be a salary cap? Is it going to be just revenue sharing, or are you going to be able to NIL on top of the revenue sharing? Because that would create a gap. But if everyone can pay the same rates, we'll just spread it around differently. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. And with the private equity stuff, I'm very unsure about the near future of college sports. Not so much the distant future. I think it's going to all work out, but the next 5 years is going to be not strange to us because I think it'll look the same on the outside, but very different for athletic departments moving forward and universities, because that's going to mess with university budgets. The comment here, 0 chance schools like Arizona, Colorado, and Iowa State can pay the max. Yeah, Arizona, West Virginia, several schools in the Big 12 have reported athletic budget trouble. especially Arizona. And Arizona's at a university level. So I wonder how that all works out in the near future.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on this too much because I don't fully know what I'm talking about. But my understanding is some schools pull from their, like, the athletics budget is different than the school budget, if that makes sense. And some schools will like pay their athletics department $5 million, $10 million a year to, make up for gaps or whatever. My understanding is Texas Tech has never done that, and other schools kind of on par with you have. And so I think that's just one indicator of kind of how self-sufficient your athletic department might be going into this. So I don't know. That's kind of a new resource we could theoretically tap into if they feel like they need an infusion of $5 or $10 million a year. I don't know what the amount would be. Like I said, I'm probably not qualified to speak on this too much. But other schools that are already tapping that as a source and they still can't afford to, pay the max revenue share, probably in a worse spot. And I don't have a list of what schools do that and what amounts, but I think that is one indicator that you might be in a better spot than some of your peers going into this.
A couple of news and bits. Caleb Dean from the Texas Tech track and field world tripped on the hurdles on the backstretch. Does not qualify for the Olympics. Several other Red Raiders and local people did. And then Wyatt Langford of the Rangers, not a Texas Tech note, but hit for the cycle tonight. And the Rangers lead big. So the Orioles going down there in Baltimore tonight after a rough stretch for the Rangers. Money, just really quickly, because I know we have a lot of Mavs fans and some crossover, some listeners. What do you think of the trade that took place this week to get rid of Hardaway Jr.?
Personally, I'm a fan. Was with the Knicks when Quentin Grimes was there. Obviously, a now Big 12 guy because he went to Houston, and so he's got some Texas ties back in his home state. So I like it, and it's clear that it was time to move away from Tim Hardaway Jr. I think that was pretty much a given. So hope he enjoys taking as many shots as he feels necessary up in Detroit.
Rob, can I ask a quick follow-up for Money?
Yeah.
Money, I feel like you're pretty uniquely qualified to answer this question as a Dallas sports fan and also big-time basketball ball knower. Who would you say is the more successful pro sports franchise, the San Antonio Spurs or the Dallas Cowboys?
How many titles do the Spurs have?
5.
And all of them have been since 98?
Yeah, I think 98, 99 was the first year they won.
And how many do the Cowboys have again?
5.
Their last one, 96.
I'll take the Spurs.
When did the Spurs join the NBA from the ABA?
76.
Okay. The Cowboys joined the NFL in 61?
I'm not sure, but I did some quick research, and the Cowboys won the Super Bowl in 1977. So they won it as San Antonio's first year in the NBA was about to conclude a few months later.
And that was their second.
Right. So since then, Dallas has 3, including now a 30-year drought, basically, of not even getting back to the title game, while the Spurs have 5 in the last 25 years.
But what are the Spurs worth?
There you go. See, Jerry wins that argument every time.
Oh, man. Let's see. Money, how do you feel about Mark Cuban being completely removed from operations, allegedly, for the Mavs?
Yeah, I just want him to be completely removed from the thing he does where he acts like he's on the team, like sits on the bench with them and like lean over and tell Luka something in the middle of like a timeout. It's just like, come on, man. I really don't like it. I feel like it's a bit, but also like I really think he's also serious at the same time. So I'd like for him to be a allegedly completely removed from that.
Yeah, put him in the suites. Or one more Mavs question. Klay Thompson, yes or no?
No. But if it happens, I wouldn't hate it.
He's washed or what?
Yeah, a little worried about the defense. I think the offense could be good next to Luka, but a little worried about the defense.
Any other Mavs questions, go?
No, I think we have mailbag questions for Wednesday about the NBA draft, so I'll save anything else NBA related till then.
Should we knock those out because the NBA draft already happened?
I think that's incorporated into the question. It's a 1 week in hindsight review.
All right. We'll leave it there.
So I don't want to jump ahead.
Okay. Let's get into the biggest story of tomorrow. Adidas, all day I dream about sports. Adolf's creation, not Hitler, the Adidas guy. He's gone. I don't know why I brought him up. The Red Raiders joining the Adidas family tomorrow or tonight at midnight, whenever it flips. Let's start in some other sports and then get to the football uniforms. What do you expect or want from basketball, baseball, and some of the other outlying sports here at Texas Tech?
So with basketball, I want Money to speak on the advantage of apparently brands are really important in basketball recruiting specifically, and Under Armour is kind of like bottom of the barrel. And my understanding is Adidas will be a big jump from that. So I want to hear more about that from somebody who knows more than I do. I'm really like with baseball, I think Tim Tadlock strikes me as a guy who does not care one iota what they wear. So I don't know how the athletic department is going to treat different sports individually, but I could see him being like, yeah, give us a red one, a black one, and a white one. And thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna be like, well, we really like the script font and we want to wear these every Sunday. And I don't think he cares. So I kind of expect the least amount of effort and fanfare on baseball just because that. So I'm curious about basketball, and then I'll save football thoughts for later. But I want to hear more from Money on what he kind of thinks about basketball specifically making the switch.
On baseball, I wonder if they just find a seam ripper and take off the Under Armour logo and add an Adidas logo. They look the same. All right, basketball, recruiting, Adidas, everything else, ceremony.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because with football, there's the obvious tie-in with Patrick Mahomes, and you kind of have that obvious connection. But with basketball, I think Adidas has a much more reputable and full roster in terms of historically what they've done in the NBA and also what they're currently doing. I mean, really, if it was not for Steph Curry, I really don't think there would be a lot of brand recognition for Under Armour in basketball. But when you look at Adidas, you obviously had guys in the past like Tracy McGrady and kind of what they've done in recent years with guys like Harden, Damian Lillard, and now kind of picking up on Trae Young. Anthony Edwards is kind of the next phase in what they're rolling out basketball wise. And so I think there's a lot of current star power that's there in terms of like what it means to be a basketball brand of Adidas and kind of to wear the three stripes. I think there's a little bit more weight to it than I think there would be with Under Armour. But in terms of kind of what I want to see just from a subjective opinion, I love any kind of throwback. And so I hope that there's a way that kind of the Andre Emmett throwback that has become a staple the last couple of seasons remains kind of in the forefront in the rotation. I feel like it's gotten a lot of use the last couple of years. And so maybe you keep it in your back pocket for maybe, 2 to 3 games a season. But I think that's one of my favorite Texas Tech jerseys of all time. And I want to see some scripts. I really like a good script basketball jersey. And so would love to see a white jersey with a red Raiders script on the front of it.
Couple of thoughts on that. Agreed on the Adidas throwback uniforms that Tech has, and agreed on script. Do we have in the Under Armour rotation? Do we have a white uniform with red script in basketball, or am I thinking of baseball and just making up a jersey there?
Baseball had the cream script, but they don't really wear them anymore. That was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, basketball never had script
Was
font.
it, was it white with red tech across the front? That was block. Was there also a script one? Maybe the
I
later
think they had a
Raiders had it.
script. I think they did.
I can't tell if I'm like Mandela affecting myself here, or if I don't know if somebody in the chat knows. One quick thought on one of the quote unquote other sports is soccer. As y'all know, Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany, played soccer, not at Texas Tech, but played in college. And they are now owners of the WMLS Kansas City franchise. And I think they have some kind of distinction that, like, that franchise's stadium is the first stadium in the world specifically built for a women's professional sports franchise. I'll be a little curious if Patrick Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes are involved at all in soccer, if they do something a little bit extra special there, whether it's promo, the input on the design, kind of like polar opposite from baseball's mentality toward uniforms. I feel like there's room for soccer there to lean into the Mahomes partnership specifically and maybe do something creative there.
This is the basketball uniform I want. Just rip it. Just get them out of the archives. It's already Adidas. It's Andre Emmett there. Texas Tech stacked on the front. Black with the red accents on the uniform and pant. Sign me up. All right. I agree with most everything there. I think women's basketball could also go back to the 90s and look really crisp. Go back to their national championship uniforms for all I want there. Baseball, I agree. You're going to have a red top with white pants. You're going to have a black top with white pants or gray pants. You're going to have a pinstripe, probably a white pinstripe, and you're going to have some grays. And you're going to have 4 uniforms, and you're going to wear them on the same days all year. All right. What about football? I have a thought here. Do you want me to give you the thought, or do you want to give your own thoughts first?
No, go ahead. Let's hear your thought.
All right. So my thought is the football uniforms are going to look strikingly similar to the Under Armour throwbacks, except the double T will be beveled. I think you're going to marry the past and the present, and you're going to have the 3-stripe shoulder, the stripes on the pant, and a wide block, big font for Texas Tech on the front of the uniform. And then you're going to have a black top pant, a red top pant, and a white top pant. And you're going to mix and match just like you have been doing. I don't think it's going to be a stark departure from what has been going on. It's just going to be Adidas. It's going to be that crisp look. It's going to be similar to Kansas. And it's going to be a beveled double T. That's my prediction.
Is there going to be an Adidas logo or a Patrick Mahomes logo?
I think it's going to be an Adidas logo, but there might be one alternate that is Mahomes branded.
So I largely agree with you. I think we're looking at late 80s, early to mid 90s era throwbacks. A couple of minor details that are preference points for me on the helmet. We've seen a black throwback helmet range anywhere from like the 70s to 90s. Sometimes it's a red face mask, sometimes it's black, might be gray in the 1950s or 60s Donnie Anderson iteration. I want a black face mask, and I would prefer no helmet stripe. I don't mind the red and white stripe that we've had on the throwbacks. I like probably wouldn't really complain about that. I think it looks clean. It would match the rest of the uniform if it has the design elements that we think it will. It's just that my preference is solid black. So for those of you watching on YouTube, we wore this uniform on the road at TCU in 2022. Sorry, my ring light is kind of in the way. So it's got the helmet stripe. I like that.
Yeah.
I just think it would look better solid black. And I've got another picture that I'll pull up. That
I think that's strikingly similar to what you're going to get tomorrow from Adidas.
Yeah. So this is what we wore in
Yes.
2021, I think, at home against TCU. No helmet stripe. I like that a little bit better.
TCU or maybe even Tarleton. Maybe both.
Now you'll notice the sleeve stripes on this. It's 3 stripes, really thin red, thick white, really thin red, and then a duplicate. So it looks like 2 white stripes, but it's kind of 2 sets of 3 stripes. This is nitpicky, but when you're with Adidas and you're with the 3 stripe deal, I think we should emulate something like this on the shoulder, where it's a true 3 stripes. So this one's black, red, black, but make it whatever color based on whatever the base jersey is. Make it red, white, red, black, red, black, whatever. I would like to see the 3 stripe thing consistent now that you're with Adidas. If you were Nike or Under Armour, I wouldn't really care if it was 1 thick stripe, 2, 3, whatever. I would love the old double T. I agree with you. I think we're not there yet. Is this a leak? Oh, that looks pretty beveled.
This is a video of the players. You saw them come in and say, "Oh, sweet," that. And then they kind of interview him in the locker room. It's a new video that's out now. But yeah, you can see the beveled white helmet there.
That is such a whiff to me. Like you're debuting the new old school double T scoreboard. Like the biggest double T in the world is the old flat double T. Yeah. This is the perfect time to change. You're putting a new, apparel logo on it with Adidas or Mahomes, whichever one it is. New conference. Perfect time to just switch the whole brand up. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. I want the Mahomes logo. Maybe it's half and half. Maybe we've got base uniforms with the current double T and throwbacks that are part of the rotation. Wouldn't hate that. I'd just like some consistency, and I would like to go back to the flat double T permanently. Last thing I'll say is I don't want a red helmet, and I would be fine if we didn't have a white helmet. If you wore the same exact solid black helmet every week, I have no qualms, no matter what the jersey and pants color are. If you have a white helmet for the road, that doesn't eat me up too badly, but would just prefer not to have it. In terms of jersey colors, I would like 1 black, 1 red, 1 white, no gray. And then pants, I do want gray in the rotation with black, red, white. And then you can do any combo. And I think if memory serves, Billy Joe Tolliver, when he was quarterback in the late 80s, he wore all blacks. And there's also a picture of him in black, red, silver, or gray. Any combo of that, I think black, white, gray looks good. I think black, black, gray looks good. So I know people don't like the gray helmets, the gray jerseys. I'm fine with the gray or silver pant as long as it's done tastefully. Yeah. So I would like to see that in the rotation. If it's not, that's okay too, but I would prefer it.
Go back to that 2014 Arkansas game. That's the modern version of it. And that looked really crisp.
Yeah. One more thing, sorry, in terms of like hints or clues that we've gotten, the Texas Tech football account. Oh, actually, one more huge thing we haven't talked about yet. The Texas Tech football account tweeted in response to like one of those off-season aggregator accounts. Was like, who has the best blackout uniform in college football? And there was like a picture of Oklahoma State and a couple other schools, and Tech wasn't on there. And they just said soon with the hourglass emoji. Now, we've pretty much always had a blackout uniform, or at least a capability to go blackout. But I think that'll be probably one of the base ones that they first reveal. Is they'll show us what the black helmet, black jersey, black pants would all look like together. Here's one more clue that they've put out, I think, multiple times that we haven't talked about. Y'all know that old logo with it's the masked rider, kind of the horse is rearing up, and it's right next to the flat double T. I've seen them isolate just the masked rider, and that was on like a seat cushion in one of the locker room teases that they were doing.
I think it was on the door of the locker, and then the flat double T was on the seat.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
One of the two.
But out of nowhere, for no reason, Texas Tech's Twitter account, not the football, not Tech Athletics, just Texas Tech University, tweets an old picture of the masked rider, and it just says soon or coming soon.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they're kind of hinting we might bring back just that portion of the logo. It's like we'll have a double T, and then we'll have an alternate logo that's just the masked rider. We've had that masked rider logo from like 99 or 2000 that like you almost never see anymore. They didn't really incorporate that into – it was on the ombre helmets. It was like blown up real big.
And connected back.
But they never really incorporated that logo across any other uniforms or just athletics branding, period. And so I wonder if we're going to get a more prominent secondary logo in the form of that throwback Master Rider right there that Money's got, but like without the double T next to it.
Yeah. Wait, hold that up. I think we'll have a helmet with that Master Rider on it. I think we'll have a helmet. Maybe
they practiced
the home uniform.
So they practiced for the 2021 Liberty Bowl in a helmet that had that decal on it. And so there's a picture of that out there somewhere. I wonder if that is going to be an alternate logo, alternate helmet. I don't think we'll wear that more than once or twice a year, if at all. Don't think that's going to like replace the double T, but I think we might, for the first time, kind of incorporate a secondary logo into the uniform.
And it makes sense on the helmet. Tom is saying some things that kind of out of nowhere, but maybe you referenced it, Kyle. Did you reference the border conference? Tom says Tech would probably have been better off staying in the border conference with possibly the Big Eight picking them up later. When Tech joined the Southwest Conference, it made it a lot easier for to come into West Texas and recruit players away to UT and Texas A&M. That's a long time ago that you're going back and re-wishing history, but
yeah, the Pac-8 added Arizona and Arizona State out of the WAC, which they went to the WAC after the border conference fell apart. So I feel like you would have gotten left out of the Pac just because they were at an even number and like you were outside the geographic footprint back when that mattered. But the Big Eight never added anyone. They merged with the Southwest Conference. So I feel like you had to be in the Southwest Conference to be in the picture there when they joined. I mean, who knows? There's a million alternate realities you could go down on conference realignment history. But the border conference, maybe because you left it, kind of collapsed pretty shortly after you left. And Don Williams will tell you, and Don Williams knows more about Tech football history than probably anybody alive, that Tech getting the invite to the Southwest Conference was, other than the day that Texas legislature founded Texas Tech University, maybe the most important day in school history, certainly for the athletics department. That kind of included you in major college sports for the first time, and you've been there ever since because of that call up. So I don't know, all that to say, it's hard to kind of say we should have gone a different route because a lot of border conference schools are playing Division III football right now. I would certainly take where we're at now than rolling the dice on potentially having that fate.
Daniel also had commented about the Texas A&M feud going on right now. We did get an A&M coaching hire, and it was the A&M hitting coach that went to Texas and came back, 4 days later to A&M. Interesting turn of events. Kyle, do you want to take us back to your tweet about hiring the best assistant on the staff and what they're going to do now?
Yeah, they're at step 1. Now, a little bit different because our guy never got on the plane. Their guy did, but he had a two-way ticket to come back, a round-trip ticket. So I guess what happens next is A&M has a pretty good year next year. Not quite Omaha. They'll make it to a super regional. Texas won't make it that far. And then early in the 2026 baseball season, Schloss will get arrested for something and terminated, then he'll get picked up by Ole Miss, and A&M will feel like they won the coaching transition there. I think that's how it'll go.
So Michael Early is said to be the next head coach of Texas A&M baseball. Kendall Rogers is saying basically that a sitting Power 5 head coach is going to come be his top assistant. Trying to find Michael Early's age. I think he's pretty young. But I don't see an age here. He's not far enough along, I guess, to have a... Oh, he's 36. 36 to take over at Texas A&M. Kendall Rogers also said, or somebody said, so it's Washington's head coach is coming to be the pitching coach. Somebody also said that a bunch of these hitters who got in the portal to follow him are going to get out of the portal and stay at A&M. So potentially a big hire, but it did feel like they let him leave, whiffed on a couple guys, and then we're like, all right, let's just get Early back. That's kind of how it felt like it played out. But otherwise, happy to see A&M and Texas back together. I think two fan bases deserve it. I love it when other fan bases are in the mud and we don't have to be involved. I also like it when we get in the mud every once in a while, but not with those two universities. They can go be dysfunctional together. I really don't care. I don't know if that's the right word, but don't really care.
I'm making my way through that reaction video on mute, just seeing if I can catch any freeze frames. Looks like we're sticking with like the block Texas Tech font, and I think that's an upgrade over what we had since maybe 2017 was the last year with that like old Under Armour font. I don't know if this is related at all, Money, or if he just got a hat, but it looks like CJ Baskerville has a Texas Tech hat that says Red Raiders in the script font.
Yeah.
And I like the script font. I've seen script done poorly, and I've seen it done well. If that's like a new font that's part of the uniforms, you might get one of your wishes, at least for football. So we'll see. I'm going like full Zapruder film here, frame by frame, to see if I can find anything interesting. But the players seem to really like it, and I guess that's what is most important.
Money. Back to the Mavs. First question, who is Najee Marshall? Second question, apparently people are saying Derrick Jones Jr. is not going to resign.
Yeah, Najee Marshall is, of course, the newest Dallas Maverick. Plays kind of that wing rotation 4 spot, so very similar to Derrick Jones Jr. So would imagine that makes his role pretty replaceable at this point. Marshall is a really good defender. I think his shot is a little bit sketchy. I think he had a better year either last year or the year before that than he's historically done, but I like the defensive upgrade. Sad to see Derrick Jones Jr. leave. Love the way he played above the rim, but I think it's an upgrade defensively.
Sorry to harp on this. We might have another uniform clue or two. You really can't see much here. Looks like red double T on a black helmet. There's a better shot. Hang on.
Is that a flat red double T?
I couldn't tell. So this one, that's the face mask, and the frame ends right before you would really be able to see the center of it to know if there's a stripe, but it doesn't look like there's a stripe.
I don't see a stripe.
This is basically the helmet that I was describing. Is black face mask, all black, no stripe. If that's the helmet, whew.
It's gonna look crisp. Ryan says no way 3 for 27 is the full MLE. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Mid-level exception.
NBA contracts are so foreign to me. I don't get them. Are you using a decoder ring over there, Kyle?
I don't know what that is. Do y'all know what that is?
A decoder ring?
Yeah.
It's the old Cracker Jack toy where you you get the decoder ring and then you can decode. Hey, man, me and Smart Football, I guess, are just a little bit older than the rest of us.
How old is this guy? Box of Cracker Jacks? What is this, Dickety 6?
The old Dick Tracy decoder rings.
I'm 31. So Joey liked a tweet. I don't know who sent it. I think one of our listeners, unless it's a screenshot, passed him. But Joey liked a tweet that said, "If I see a bevel tomorrow, I'm gonna lose it." Now Joey likes a lot of tweets, so that could mean nothing. He's probably just reading replies, clicking like on all of them. But okay, so here's no, that's basically the same shot as.
What are the odds they have old helmets in that video just to throw people off?
And that would be a lot of work to be like, hey.
Wouldn't they have them there? I bet they still have a couple of the old helmets floating around. Interesting. All right. Are we missing anything?
Here's what's going to happen. If I see a bevel tomorrow, I'm going to sue the athletics department for, I don't know what. I'll figure that out when I get there. But I'm calling Barnett, Howard, and Williams. Hopefully, BHW Law Firm, 3 double Texas Tech grads. Hopefully, they're fans of the flat double T. And will take my case on this. They usually specialize in criminal defense, Title IX student litigation, catastrophic injury, but maybe they'll throw us a bone on this one. BHWLawFirm.com if you want to learn more. They hope you never need them. We hope that the bevel is leveled tomorrow, but if it's not, that will be my first call. Shout out to Barnett, Howard, and Williams. I think that's all I have on uniforms, Rob. Oh, actually, one more thing. I can't wait to buy all the merch. I want Mahomes logo and flat double T merch, quarter zip hat, polo. Doesn't matter. I'll if you budget for this every month, if you spend like $200 a month on merch, you could still have $600 worth before football season ish. If you buy like your warm weather gear now, and then like you budget $200 for October to have a jacket for later in the season. I don't know what I'm going to do with all my Under Armour polos, though. I have like quite a collection of Under Armour, and it's going to feel weird to wear it. I kind of already stopped wearing it in anticipation.
Yeah.
I feel like it would just look weird 3 years from now once everybody's real accustomed to Adidas to show up in an Under Armour polo. People are going to be like, what is this, 1982?
People are still wearing Nike polos and whatever else.
Yeah, I guess.
What is the first merch you buy? You're going to buy a quarter zip go?
Yeah, obviously.
I'll buy a hat, probably. Money?
Hat.
I'm going to change my answer on that. If our permanent base helmet is a solid black, no stripe, black face mask, old school double T, I will buy the replica helmet and I will wear it on the first episode that I can after it ships. It's probably gonna be like $400, and I will wear the helmet on the show.
Can't wait.
That's how jacked I'll be if that is the helmet going forward.
I already bought an Adidas hat. Just Adidas, no double T.
Just like a Ludwig Oberg Adidas hat.
It's black with a white Adidas on the front. Should have worn it tonight in anticipation.
Actually, that's one more thing I didn't mention. I don't think Ludwig has a personal brand, but I wonder if kind of same as Brittany Mahomes getting involved with soccer. I wonder if he's involved at all with golf and if he's going to promote it or, if they use him to unveil any kind of golf merchandise or I don't know what. But really cool that you've got the best football player in the world and now I think the 4th-ranked golfer in the world hailing from our beloved alma mater. So that would be kind of neat if they worked him into the fold somehow.
Starter says, tell me about it. I'm still wearing my big time sports polo.
Did you get that when you were a kid, Starter, or like when you were a student, or?
He's still wearing it, I'm assuming. All right. Final thoughts? Did we miss anything?
Are we doing any trivia today?
I did not prepare any trivia.
Then just name a game.
All right. Let me hold on. Money. Chris Paul to the Spurs. What are your thoughts on that?
Did you see Des Bryant's thought on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite exactly that. Good for Wemby, though.
Kyle. Yeah, good for Wemby.
While you're looking for that, I can also make a Patreon plug. We have a new post up about Devin Cromwell, a defensive back transfer from Canada, and some of his pretty insane measurables and how they would compare to recent guys at the NFL Combine. It's part of our Dog Days series, getting through the dog days of summer. Just talking about random off-season topics. So if you want to read that and get access to the Discord and our weekly midweek episode, you can join us on Patreon for $5 a month. Patreon.com/Gamblin Gauchos. You know who just joined the Patreon, you guys? A guy named Mateo No Mayo.
It's been he leaves every summer. I don't know where he goes.
He's hanging out with Cyclone Larry.
Grabbing a beer, see where it takes him. The Discord goes hard too, says Starter. So many inside jokes. All right. Easy to pick up, though. It's easy to pick up if you join now. All right. Kyle. Texas Tech. West Virginia. 2017. One of these teams is ranked. I want you to tell me which one, about where, and give me some information on the game.
Yeah, 2017?
2017, West Virginia.
Okay, 2017, we are in Morgantown. We're ranked number 24, and I think we're sitting at 5-2. On the first possession of the game, we throw us 4-2?
Yeah.
Okay. On the first possession of the game, we throw a screen pass to the right side to redshirt freshman TJ Vasher. He houses it from about 55 yards out, I think.
60.
60? Okay. Sorry, memory's a little fuzzy. Let's see. Kiki QT scored. Must have been in the second quarter, and we were penalized 15 yards because he shushed the crowd. It's the weakest unsportsmanlike call I've ever seen in my life. We either hit a field goal or missed a field goal right before halftime, but we were up by like 17 in this game, I'm pretty sure, maybe more. And we actually scored on the first possession in the second half, Justin Stockton, I'm pretty sure, to go up maybe something like, I don't know, 31-10, or we were up pretty big. And then after that, you can kind of guess what happens. Will Greer, West Virginia, they come storming back. And they beat us. I think this was one – we must have had a missed field goal because I think this is one of the 2 or 3 games that year where I remember thinking if we had made one more kick, we probably would have won the game. So I don't know. Maybe we lost something like 38. Well, no, I think they actually pulled away a little bit at the end. I'll say we lost like 45-34, but we were winning. We had a pretty good lead built up.
Or you had the spread right. Points just one off. 46-35.
Okay.
It was Trey King that scored the touchdown. It was a running back there.
Okay. Yeah, not Stockton.
The second possession of the second half. One thing I want you to say is how short that missed field goal was at the end of the half.
It was like a chip shot. It's like 20-something yards.
23-yard missed field goal. That was the second missed field goal of the half. That was an 11-play, 40-yard drive that you missed a field goal from the 6. And then you also missed a field goal 2 possessions earlier. That was 3 possessions earlier. That was a 43-yard miss. So you missed 2 field goals in the first half.
Yeah, I think Clayton Hatfield was injured.
Hurt his hip. He also missed one in the third quarter. So you missed 3 field goals altogether. They scored how many did they score in the fourth quarter? That's one more thing.
I don't know. I want to say something like 17.
Yeah, 22.
22.
Can the Gauchos get a sponsor to pay for Kyle to take the Mensa? The Gamblin Gauchos individual personal foul penalties, Mensa territory.
Money, name a game from any time after 2011.
Texas Tech, Kansas, 2014.
Okay. This was in Lubbock. This game was boring as hell, so I actually don't remember much. This was the worst season Tech has had since probably before Spike Dykes. Yes. Davis Webb was still quarterback. It was before Mahomes took over. All I remember is Kansas had like one decent player. It was like their middle linebacker, like some white guy, and they just like talked about him all game because like they had nothing else to say about Kansas. There were no fans there. Must have been like Parents' Weekend or something because my mom was at that game, and I think it was like the only game she went to while I was in college. I think we won some pathetic like 37-24, just like hideous football game.
You're always so close. 34-21. Do you remember the linebacker's name? I think he played for the Raiders for a minute after this.
No, I'll remember when you tell me, but I can't pull it off the top of my head.
Have you ever seen Boy Meets World?
Yeah. Corey Matthews.
Similar to the teacher's name.
Oh, Mr. Feeney? I don't know. What's his last name? Feeney? That doesn't ring a bell.
Heaney.
Was it like Blake Heaney or something?
Ben.
Okay.
He had an interception in the game. So there's that. Do you want to take a stab at DeAndre Washington's run total or the leading receiver in the game?
Just based on that season, it was probably Marquez or Grant.
They tied.
But they both have like 82 yards or something.
6 catches, 72 for Grant, 70 for Marquez.
Yeah. That game sucked.
Yeah.
If that game was like, I don't know, we didn't have any fans there. I was going to make a TCU joke, but like there would have been nobody there if that was TCU at having a 4-8 season playing Kansas back then. It was brutal. I'm surprised I got the exact score margin correctly, even though I didn't get the points right.
Twice, yeah.
All right, we have to take one from the comments as a.
Hold on. Ben Heaney had 17 tackles.
He was their only player. Starter, if you want to shoot one from the comments, 2012 or after, just so you know this wasn't orchestrated like you accused me of last time.
And I'll pull up the box score.
Or anybody else. It doesn't have to be starter.
Who was the linebacker from Tech that was on the Real World?
He was on the 08 team. What was his name? He's like a bodybuilder now or something, like a fitness guru.
Marlon Williams.
Yes. Yeah, he had the cowboy collar and everything. 2015 Sam Houston State. Hang on.
World Portland.
2015 Sam Houston State.
Let me pull it up. Hold on.
Okay.
2015 Sam Houston State, Texas Tech. All right. Oh, brutal.
This was, I remember thinking Mahomes was really good. I think we're all black. It's in Lubbock, obviously. See, the UTEP game blurs with me this year because they were like the same colors. I probably remember UTEP better. Sam Houston 2015. I feel like they scored on us. Like it was kind of not like embarrassing, but it was like we should have put them away by now. I'm gonna guess the final score was 70-35 with Mahomes doing what he does. Maybe that's way too high. I can't remember. Yeah, I feel like just in the first half, like we didn't really pull away. It was like they were within a touchdown for most of the first half. It was like 35-28 at halftime or something stupid like that. And then we kind of pulled it together a little bit toward the end. But I might be describing the UTEP game.
I'm gonna give you one more chance on the final score. You're well off. One of the teams is too high though, by about 10.
Oh, I guess like 59-35.
59-45.
Okay. Man, we only beat them by 2 touchdowns.
So they had a running back, Donovan Williams, who had 4 touchdowns. They had 5 rushing touchdowns total.
Yeah, so I must be thinking of the UTEP game because that was also we kind of struggled with them, and then Aaron Jones got hurt, and you pulled away. But yeah, I remember like getting text during that game. It was like we can't even stop Sam Houston. I just don't remember how bad it was. That was the game. Rob, you said this was like your favorite Mahomes throw where he like is rolling. It kind of has to like hop and like throws a sidearm off one foot. It's not like a super deep pass or anything, but that was kind of when you know like okay, he can throw off schedule, on the move, weird arm angles. Because he had only started a couple games a year before and got hurt in one of them. So this was kind of like the first time we were going into a season where he was a full-time starter and all that. And yeah, it was Sam Houston, but I still feel like really early with him, you're like, holy crap, this guy's good.
UTEP was 69-20. So you were conflating those a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of blended together. All right. I don't want to go out on a bad note. How about FBS only? Because I do remember some FCS games, but maybe not quite as well.
All right, let's stay in that year, 2015. Let's end on a high note for everyone and say that the end of that season, regular season against Texas. So 2015 against Texas.
Yeah, we were wearing the throwbacks, which I think we just described we want as our permanent uniform, black, white, black. It was, yeah, like you said, last game of the season, so maybe Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving. Maybe it was on Thanksgiving. Can't remember. It was a little bit misty and foggy, like the weather wasn't great. Let me see if I can remember who scored. I think our first touchdown, we were bombing it to Devin Lauderdale, and I don't know if the ball slipped out of Mahomes' hands or what, but it was a bad pass, and Lauderdale just goes into like defense mode, and he decks this guy. He was about to intercept it. Ball pops up in the air. Jakeem Grant catches it, scores from probably at least 45 yards out, but it was like almost an INT. 65. Okay, that's longer than I remember. We ran a hook and ladder. It didn't score, but it's to Ian Sadler. DeAndre Washington scored. Mahomes ran one in, flexed on them. They didn't like that. They started Gerard Hurd at quarterback, but by the second half, it was like all Tyrone swoops. And they kept calling like deep shots. Like I said, the weather wasn't good. Tyrone swoops wasn't that good of a passer. I think they got the ball back within a possession maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, here's what it was. So toward the end of the game, like one of the final sequences, we scored. There's a really deep pass to Jakeem Grant down the left side. They rolled him down at the 1. We punch it in.
Yeah.
That was to go up 38-35, I think. Texas gets the ball back, and like there's plenty of time on the clock for them to put together possession. But it's 4th and 1. They're going to go for it. They have a 250-pound running quarterback, and on 4th and 1, they throw like a 40-yard shot down the field. It's incomplete. We get the ball back. We run that play where we're hiding Jakeem Grant to go up. I think it was 45-35. It might have been like 48-38. It was 10.
Yeah, 48-38.
And I can't remember. I think Texas scored like a garbage time to make it closer. I guess the game was technically within reach. It wasn't garbage time. Like they could have gotten an onside kick. But yeah, we won. We were 7-5. I think they were still bowl eligible. I think they got killed by Arkansas that year in their bowl game.
Nope. Finished 4-7.
Oh, ugly.
Or 5, I guess 4-8 because we beat them.
Cliff got caught on a hot mic in the end zone, like dapping up fans after the game. He like pulled Mahomes aside and said, "You're a fucking legend." And I can't remember which TV station caught that, but that was fun. I was there. Stevie Ray Vaughn's brother, which Stevie Ray Vaughan used to play at Stubbs in Lubbock all the time. Why am I blanking on his name? Jimmy Vaughn. He played Texas Flood at halftime, and it was raining. It's pretty cool. He did a good job. And what I remember about the start of the third quarter is because of the weather conditions, when they did like a fog machine or whatever, it's just a layer of it over the field. It like didn't go away. Not a meteorologist, but whatever the like humidity, air pressure, it just like had this cloud of fog over the field. It looked kind of cool. But yeah, I was there in the rain, and it was a fun game. It was like probably how Cliff imagined he would win a lot of games here. Just like we'll get into a shootout and win, but they rarely ever actually turned out that way. And it was significant. I think that was the year we wanted A&M in the bowl game, and they ducked us because we had only ever beaten Arkansas, Texas, and A&M in the same year once back in '76.
Yeah, and then you get LSU.
Yeah, really wanted a shot at A&M in the bowl game, and then we got LSU.
And it was that weird LSU season where they had lost a couple early and then were like number 3 in the country, lost a couple late. They were really good, and they had no business being in the same bowl as a 7-5 Texas Tech team.
Yeah, they had like multiple first rounders. They had like Jamal Adams, Leonard Fournette,
Alden Smith, the defensive end.
Yeah. Odell wasn't on that team. He was in the league the year before.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had like so much talent. And I just remember Mahomes, like he played well. It was like the Super Bowl they lost to the Buccaneers. He's like running around and like making these crazy throws. It's like there's nothing more he can do. And I think Jakeem Grant had a pretty good game in that bowl game too. That he probably raised his draft stock. He had a great season, period. But it would have been fun to get A&M because they weren't any good back then, and you could have completed that trifecta.
Going back to the end of that Texas Tech game that you just mentioned, you did go 48-38, up by 10 with 2.5 minutes left. They had a 42-yard kick return with a 15-yard face mask penalty added to the end. And
did Swoops house it on like the next play?
I was thinking, here we go again. Yeah, it was Swoop and Warren, 2 plays and a touchdown. And there's a full 2 minutes left. Yeah, you can talk about Chris Warren in a second. Yeah. A full 2 minutes left. I'm like, here we go. It's over. They're going to win because Texas Tech and Cliff Kingsbury can't run the damn ball and put this game out of reach. Then you have DeAndre Washington, Patrick Mahomes for the 1 first down you need, and then you nailed it out, which is just rare in the Cliff era. Yeah, you want to talk about Chris Warren's day? You hadn't mentioned him yet.
Yeah, he had a 95-yard touchdown run. just bounced off of us like a pinball machine. He must have had 250 yards.
276, 4 touchdowns.
God. Yeah, he killed us. And then, like, never heard from him again.
Yep, pretty much. They had 400 yards rushing.
I remember thinking that, like, after that game, I was like, okay, Texas has their next, like, Ricky Williams, Heisman caliber, Cedric Benson. And then I just, like, never heard from that guy again.
Yeah.
I don't know what came of him, but that was how that defense was.
Tech
They
had
made a lot of guys look like that.
Yeah, they had several of those games just against Texas running backs that had big games and never really did anything else. All right, we're gonna run out of games if we do 6 at a time, but we'll do that in a couple of weeks again. I'll maybe have some logos next Sunday for you. Make it a little tougher this time. Or maybe some uniforms. Maybe we go uniforms and we take away the distinguishing logos and make you guess in honor of the logos.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
See if I can Photoshop that good enough.
Hey, real quick, while I've got you both here.
Yep.
I want your input on this question. It's going to be a tease for the next Patreon post. Let's pivot to 2024 football season. The last transfer portal window, I think, is closed. So we know who's going to be on the roster. Start naming off from number 1 to however many we get to who the pass catchers are that you are most confident in this season. Who's number 1?
Josh Kelly. Say that
Money,
again.
would you say? Yeah, the pass catcher, so receiver, tight end, running back that you're most confident in going into 24.
Yeah, Josh Kelly.
Josh Kelly. Money, is that the same as you would say?
Yes.
Number 2?
Jalen Conyers.
Okay, interesting.
If healthy, I think.
Okay. Number 3?
I don't have anybody up. I feel like I should pull up the roster. Starter says Taj Brooks. I don't run the ball. I don't need him catching any passes. Let's say
Going Koy Aiken.
Yeah, Koy Aiken. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay, that's a good one, especially at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Who's number 4?
Brady Boyd.
Brady Boyd. Okay.
Yeah. Then I'd go Jordan Brown.
Okay, Money, who's 4 and 5 for you?
Who's the Florida transfer?
Caleb Douglas. Probably need to go Dre McCray.
like him.
Y'all going to mention our number 1 prospect in program history anywhere in here? That's not even where I'm going with this, by the way, but I thought he would have been listed by now.
No, I kind of don't want him to be leaned on in his freshman year. I want him to play 4 games, 5 with a bowl game. I want him to have 300 yards.
You want him to redshirt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, unless the rest of the team is not performing.
I mean, I hear he's pretty good.
Yeah. I've been playing too much NCAA where I redshirt everybody.
All right, number 5, number 6, some guys that have caught passes for us before that haven't been mentioned yet.
Yeah, I'd probably go Micah Hudson at 6. Trey McCray at 5, maybe.
Okay. How about who are we missing here? Like Tharp, Brooks, Valdez.
Tharp.
The Elon transfer at tight end.
John Carlos Miller.
That's the one. Trying to think who else. I think we've named most of the guys that are probably expected to contribute.
Cam Dickey.
Yeah. So, of the guys you mentioned, Dre McCray is the only one that plays slot receiver. Now, Brady Boyd has played in the slot, but he's also played outside. Koy Aiken exclusively outside. Josh Kelly exclusively outside. Caleb Douglas exclusively outside. In high school, Micah Hudson exclusively outside. Maybe he's got a different role in college. And then the others are tight ends and running backs. So the next Patreon post is going to be about that dynamic and potentially what it could mean for the offense. Jordan Brown, I think, maybe in the slot sometimes, but he's a small guy. They line him up outside.
Yeah. See what happens.
See what happens. Patreon.com/Gamblin Gauchos.
Final thoughts?
No, I am allegedly we're getting something at midnight. I don't think it's going to be a uniform reveal. But tomorrow, I'm sorry, boss man. I'm checking Twitter every 5 minutes. I got to see these unis.
All right, I'm going to go take UTSA to their third straight national title. And a number one recruiting class, potentially. I'm in the top 5 right now. We'll see what happens.
Ryan, do you work with Red Raiders?
I do quite a few.
Rob, obviously, I know you do. I don't have anybody in my office who cares. But it's kind of nice sometimes because we lose to Wyoming and they're not even aware. So I don't have to get smack talked. But I have nobody to revel with tomorrow in person. We've got the Discord. Trust me, I'll be in there. But I have nobody I can turn to at work and be like, dude, check this out. They'll be like, what is that? What sport is that? Yeah, this is a football uniform. And this is my favorite team. They'll be like, yeah, I don't care. So it's tough on a day like that where you want to share in the camaraderie of the big reveal. But that's what the Discord is for. That's where everybody who matters is.
Hell yeah.
Shot across the bow at anybody who's not a Patreon subscriber.
They can subscribe today, Gamblin Gauchos, on Patreon, patreon.com/Gamblin Gauchos. Of course, this episode, as is every Sunday episode on the Republic of Football feed, those Wednesday/Thursday episodes will be on Patreon. So you get 2 a week, once to the free world, once to the Patreon subs. And I think we're calling those sods now. Or epi.
I like epis. Epis.
I just feel like epi is synonymous with EpiPen. So
yeah, it's give me a shot of that,
All right. We're in anaphylaxis. Give me a shot. Give me some epi.
Yeah, inject it straight into my veins.
I'm allergic to no gauchos. Give me that epi.
That's right. We got an epi for that.
All right.
Every Sunday and Wednesday night.
Okay.
All right. Love y'all.